Josh.
Been kidnapped by Jasper County.
Okay. Well, Matt, is Josh in the house?
He's left the building with Elvis.
Bring Josh and Elvis back into the building. All right. What we can do, though, welcome everyone. We have already started our meeting, including the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Right now, our first order of business, we are coming out of executive session, so I need a motion to come out of executive session and into regular session.
Mayor, I make a motion that we come out of executive session into regular session.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next is public comments. Do we have any, Cindy?
No, sir.
Okay. I'm dragging my feet as much as I can. I think we can introduce Mr. Mobley. Welcome, Chief.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's good to be in front of you again, and one of our favorite times we get to introduce another member of the family. Tristan, come on up. So Mr. Moberly comes to us with no experience in the fire service, so he's already been to Bluffton and completed his 8-week introduction to being a fireman, passed with flying colors, and now he'll be on shift until January, 1st of January, where he goes to EMT school. So that being said, Mr. Moberly.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. My name is Tristan Moberly. I just wanted to thank everybody for the opportunities given to me here, and I look forward to everything from the future on. Thank you.
Well, welcome, and we are a family here, so we would all love to know a little bit about you and your family.
Absolutely. So the entirety of my family pretty much works in either within some form of first responders or the medical field. I come from Cincinnati most recently. I've lived up there for about 15 years. I moved down here when I was told that there were opportunities to get into a career that better suited what my family does and what I wanted to do over working service industry, waiting tables, bartending, things like that.
Well, welcome. And you're single, no kids?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, you have plenty of time to work on that part.
No, sir.
He didn't have to.
Well, you can learn that too, as well as firefighting. Council, any comments from Mr. Mobley?
Just welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome very much, and
Welcome, good to have you.
a lot of success and a long career. Thank you. Next, we have the acceptance of the City of Hardeeville audit report of fiscal year 2024 by Mr. Trey Scott.
Yes,
Mr.
sir,
Boyle.
Mayor. Just real quick, Mr. Scott from Malden Jenkins is here to present the audit to you tonight. And I know y'all see me a lot. You're probably tired of seeing me, but what you're seeing is the fruits of not just Trey and his team and me, but Amy Chester, Jordan Tootin, Jordan Mason, and Serena Chandler. So it's not just the five. It's not just me. It's all of us, and a lot of work goes into this. And I'll let Trey tell you our story. Trey.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Certainly good to be back with you all to present the results of another audit, fiscal year 2024. So who is driving the presentation here? I guess I am. Just give you an idea of why I'm here today. Give you a quick introduction to Malden Jenkins in case you're unfamiliar with us. Go over our audit report, your compliance reports, and your financial statements. Go over some required communications, and then answer any questions that you all may have. Really quickly about Malden and Jenkins, founded over 100 years ago. We serve over 725 governmental entities throughout the Southeast. Do that across 14 offices in 6 states, and the office that serves you all is our Savannah, Georgia office. But enough about us. I think of particular importance to you all is our audit opinion. I think, as you all know, the financial statements themselves are the responsibility of the city's management. It's our responsibility as your auditor to express opinions on that financial information based on our audit. And we do that by following generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. And pleased to report to you all this evening that we were able to issue the city a clean, or what we call an unmodified opinion. And what that means is that your financial statements present fairly the financial position and the results of the city's operations as of June 30, 2024. And that's what you're looking for, a clean opinion. It's the highest level of assurance that we can provide to you. Also included in your financial statements are a couple of compliance reports. The first is our Yellow Book report. It's a report on your internal controls and compliance. We don't provide you with an opinion on those, but if we have any findings we need to report to you, that's where we would report those. We did have one finding this year. It's a state law compliance finding. Basically, your deposits that are at each bank, if they're in excess of the federal depository insurance coverage of $250,000, the bank is supposed to hold securities to collateralize or to to be there in case the bank goes insolvent, that your deposits are covered. And we opened a new account this year, I think, with U.S. Bank related to some proceeds received from a note, and the bank did not notify or note those as public deposits. So at June 30, 2024, those deposits weren't securities weren't held to collateralize or secure those deposits. So when that was noted in November, immediately notified the bank, and everything is in compliance now. But as of June 30, it was just one of those kind of timing deals where it wasn't notified when or wasn't noted when it when the bank account was open. So if there's ever a minor finding, this is probably one of those. This isn't not a material weakness, not a significant deficiency. This is just an instance of noncompliance with state law at June 30, 2024, which has been rectified since then. So. Single audit report. So that's the report on your federal grant monies. Your major program there was the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds, or ARPA. I think a lot of people is what they call that. Unmodified opinion on compliance with your grant programs, and so no issues, no findings as it related to the spending of those grant monies. I think you all know this, but in case you don't, you go above and beyond the minimum level of required reporting of a local government. You present an annual comprehensive financial report, or ACFR. It has some additional sections in it that your basic financial statements don't normally have. And it's submitted each year to this certificate program that the GFOA has. And I'm not sure how many years in a row, but your 2023 certificate's included in your ACFR this year. 2024 will be submitted towards the end of this month, and I'm sure there shouldn't be any issues with you all getting the certificate again for your 2024. Moving on from there, talk a little bit about the numbers. Within your ACFR, you have two sets of financial statements, just like pretty much any city does. You have a government-wide set that you only see once a year, and that's reported in your ACFR. And then you have fund level information. So the government-wide financial statements take a look at basically the big picture of the city at June 30, 2024. All of your funds rolled up into one column. So this is everything as far as it relates to the city. And again, just a bunch of numbers on a page, but the bottom two there, your net position, so the difference between your assets and your liabilities was almost $76 million. Again, that's across all the funds, and that's not the cash, right, that you have available to spend, just the difference between your assets and your liabilities. And then you increase that net position this year. So your revenues exceeded your expenses by about $17 million. And again, that's across all of your funds. But I think what you all are more apt to see in the budget process and monthly financials and those kinds of things are your fund level information, more specifically your general fund. And general fund looks pretty good. I mean, $23 million in fund balance. Your assets definitely exceed your liabilities. We increased fund balance this year by about $11 million. And one of the more common questions I get is how healthy are we as a city? And an audit's not designed to tell you how healthy you are, but there are certain metrics that you can look at to kind of gauge that health. And one of those is how many months of expenditures do you have in fund balance? You all are right around 7 months. That's a great place to be for a June 30 year end. The other place I like to look is liquidity. So how many times could you pay your current liabilities, the vendor invoices that are due, your payroll that's coming due? How many times could you pay those with the current assets that you have available to you? at June 30. You could have done it about 4.5 times. So that's a good liquid position to be in as well. And I'm more of a pictures than words on a page. So but this graph is really telling of the growth over the course of the last 5 years. We were looking at about 12.5 million of general fund revenues in 2020. We're up over 30 million as of fiscal year 2024. And obviously you can see the expenditures grow along with that. And fund balance has really trended in the right direction as well. Had a little dip last year, but certainly rebounded very well for fiscal year 24. So a good looking historic 5-year historical graph of your kind of your P&L and your fund balance over the course of the last 5 years. A few other items of note: reinvested in the city by about 11.2 million in the form of capital asset additions. Had to recognize about 3.3 million in depreciation expense this year, and paid down about 2 million in debt. And your net pension liability, so your retiree benefits that you're paying to the SCRS and the PORS, increased about 1.9 million again this year. So y'all are up to about, I think, 14.7 million in that net pension liability. But again, that's a very long-term liability, not something you're going to have to pay tomorrow or next year or over the course of the next 5 years. So it's just all the value or the liability that's been calculated by the actuary of the plan to let you know kind of what that true amount is going to be at this point in time that you'll pay out over the course of many years. Few required communications. Again, clean opinion. We had the one finding. No difficulties in dealing with management. No disagreements with management. The finance department, good team, and they get us what we need when we need it. Certainly very refreshing from our standpoint as your auditor. No disagreements with management. We had no uncorrected misstatements, and then just want to make sure you're aware we're independent of the city in accordance with all of the applicable standards of our profession. A few new GASBs that are going to go into effect over the next couple of years. We'll work with finance on the best course of action for implementation of those. And we do love that the finance department comes to some free continuing education that we provide only to our clients. Really happy to have them there and glad that they can take part in that. And that concludes what I wanted to report to you all this evening. It's been a pleasure to serve the city, and we look forward to serving you all in the future. If you have any questions, be happy to answer.
Thank you. We'll go across the board and see if there are any questions. Mr. Carroll?
No, sir. We've had this auditing firm, we've familiar with you, and we got a lot of confidence in John, so I don't have any questions.
Mr. White?
Ditto, thanks so much. Good report in terms of understandability. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mrs. Guzman?
Same thing as what they said.
That's called
You
ditto.
guys, you guys leave no page unturned, so that's great. And then also kudos to our finance department for keeping all their ducks in a row, so. Mr. Boyle, to your departments.
Mr. Mearsman?
We're fortunate to have the financial department that we have and to have the auditing firm that we have to present these documents that are understandable, and you take us through what we have. The city of Hardeeville is very fortunate to have all of you involved with our finances. Thank you.
It's all been said. Thank you for your fine work. To our staff, Mr. Boyle, and your staff, thank you very much. Well done. Okay, thank you. Next, before I introduce this, do we have handy a box of tissues, just in case somebody starts crying? Okay, keep it handy, we may need it. Next is the Reefs Across America proclamation.
Mayor, point of order, please. For the audit report, I need a motion for you to accept the report.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're trying to,
Could I have a motion to accept the auditor's report?
Motion to accept the auditor's report.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, now we can get the tissues. Next on our agenda is a Reefs Across America proclamation, which, as we know, this coming Saturday is the National Day of Reefs Across America. So, may I have the representatives. I see there are several of Reefs Across America, and I will read this proclamation and ask, come up to the podium. I'll read the proclamation and ask the council to endorse it. Reefs Across America proclamation designating December 14, 2024, National Reefs Across America Day. Whereas Reefs Across America is a national nonprofit organization founded in 2007 to continue and expand the annual wreath-laying ceremony at Arlington National Cemetery, begun by Maine businessman Merle Worcester in 1992. Whereas Reefs Across America's mission is to remember the fallen, honor those who serve, and teach the next generation about the true cost of freedom. Whereas Reefs Across America is made up of more than 4,700 participating locations across the country, run by dedicated volunteers looking to share the mission to remember, honor, and teach through annual wreath-laying ceremonies each December and awareness and education events throughout the year. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Harry Williams, do hereby proclaim December 14, 2024 as National Reefs Across America Day in the city of Hardeeville, South Carolina, and extend thanks and appreciation to our veterans and Gold Star families for their service and sacrifice, and to Reefs Across America for bringing this honor to our community. So first thing I'd like to do, I would like a motion to endorse this proclamation from council.
Mr. Mayor, I endorse this proclamation.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we're going to go down and have some picture taken and give them the opportunity to say something, but I do want the public to know that, I don't know, how many years ago? 4 years ago, Steve? 2020. Reefs Across America, Hardeeville, did not exist. It existed in Jasper County, obviously Beaufort County, and it's pretty extensive. But the city of Hardeeville and its cemeteries were not included in that. Thanks to the generous volunteerism of the Talbot family, Steve and Kathy, they brought this whole program to light. And now, from what Steve had told me the other day, we will have 6 cemeteries and 265 reefs from what was in 2020, 0. And that is a credit to the Talbots and all the members of the board, and there's an extensive array of volunteers that will go lay these 265 reefs on Saturday. So my congratulations. Thank you. Do you need this?
Not yet.
Okay. So before we take pictures, please take the opportunity to say a few words.
As the mayor said, we started in 2020. How it started was, I think it was at the end of a planning commission meeting, the mayor asked me, what do you know about Reefs Across America? Well, I had done it when I was stationed in D.C., and I had done it at Beaufort. So I told him, and he says, well, I'd like to have it happen in Hardeeville. I said, Harry, that's great. That's a great idea. He looks at me, he says, make it happen. So I was volunteered.
It's like the Army.
Just
But,
you drafted, yeah.
Drafted.
But I would like to thank the mayor and the council because you folks have totally been behind me in this. I tell people it's not my program, it's a city program. I just administer it for the city. And you guys have been behind me 100%. All the departments in the city have supported me, and I really appreciate it. So thank you all.
Thank you. Council, let's get a photo op.
We don't need to be in that, you guys.
No, you do. No, you're on the board.
If I have to, you have to. Or just volunteer.
Chief. Now I'll take it.
Carolyn.
No. Yes, come on.
Come on.
All I do is hang a wreath.
Get next to your husband.
We'll take a few of them. 3. This way a little bit here. 3. I will add one more thing. I got even with the mayor. I appointed him to our board of directors this year.
You did.
All righty then.
Okay, next we have the presentation and approval of minutes from the November 21st, 2024 regular city council meeting. We have a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes to the minutes of November 21.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the November 21st, 24 regular city council meeting minutes.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, we go into old business. But before I move on to this, this item, I have a short prepared statement. When I became mayor, I vowed to myself and the public to chair professional, civil, and respectful meetings. In my 8.5 years, I've missed the mark a few times. But there are 2 meetings that I particularly regret. The worst was October 22nd, and number 2 was October 24. Both involved this South Point development before us now. I could try to explain the reasons for my emotions and anger regarding this project, but there is no excuse for improper behavior. So I offer my apologies to the public, our council, our staff, and the applicant for my failure to live up to the standards that I expect of myself and I promise to the people of Hardeeville. Therefore, because I've shown repeatedly that I cannot control those emotions and anger with this project, I pass the gavel to Mayor Pro Tem White and my list of questions to Councilwoman Guzman. I will shut my mouth and listen to the council debate and decide. I only ask the chair to call for a roll call vote to give me the opportunity to explain my vote if necessary. On that.
Harry, thank you. Given what you said, we still want to know how much we appreciate you. We appreciate what you had to say. Thank you. I just want to say something before we get started. In 2nd grade, I had a teacher. Her name was Mrs. Watson, and she taught me how to read. And she's pretty good. But one thing I forgot to do today is bring my reading glasses. And so I want you to know that regardless of how I sound trying to read this, and I can't use anyone else's, that I really do know how to read. And so I apologize for struggling through this, but this is very important. And I'm going to get a new pair for Christmas. Thank you, John. I'm going to start now, and please bear with me. Second reading of the ordinance of the city of Hardeeville, South Carolina, to adopt a master plan submittal for the tract of land consisting of approximately 356.4 acres, known generally as the Southport Infrastructure Master Plan, located between U.S. Highway 278, I-95, and John Smith Road, to include parcels 041-00-03-28 and 042-00-42-001 019, located in the Southport Point Planned Development District, and to amend the official zoning map of the city of Hardeeville to indicate that proportion subject to the master plan. And this reference point is 2024-9-18A. And at this moment, what I'd like to do is turn this over to Josh and let you follow up. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem White. This matter originally appeared on council's agenda at first reading at the end of October. At that meeting, it was carried over until this meeting tonight. In the intervening weeks, staff has been working to meet with both the mayor and all members of council with the intent of developing a comprehensive list of questions and concerns related to this particular application. The council met earlier this evening to review responses from the applicant regarding those list of concerns in executive session. That discussion has resulted in a number of additional questions and concerns being raised. And rather than trying to hash through those this evening, the thought was it may be beneficial to look at scheduling a workshop where we can get this critical information out to the public, but also do it in a meaningful and productive manner with an idea that it then appears on your next regularly scheduled council meeting in January, which I believe would be the January 16th meeting, given that the January 2nd meeting is going to be purely administrative in nature. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to council, but that is where we stand with this particular issue.
Very good. What I'm going to do is ask each of you, starting with you, Steve, to go down this way and just additional comments, things you'd like to share, et cetera.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My comment is the staff, the developer, the council, we've all put a lot of work into this to get this to this point. And I want to thank everybody for doing that. It's an important project. There's a lot of questions, but we still need some answers and we need the public input for that. With that being said, I'd like to make a motion to table 2024-9-18A to the January 16th, 2025 meeting with a workshop to be scheduled prior to the meeting.
I'll second that. I'll second that.
We had a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion's been tabled. Mr. Mayor, if
Would you like to hand it back to me now?
I'm going to give it back to your capable hands and my eyeless glasses.
Okay, we go on to new business. And it's a resolution of the City of Hardeeville, South Carolina City Council authorizing the city manager to hire a general contractor to construct various parking lots and sidewalks. This is Resolution 2024-12-12A. Mr. Gruber, please.
Yes.
So, Mr. Mayor, this is a project that we're bringing before you for consideration tonight. It is a conglomeration of several projects that were either previously included in budgets that were adopted by the city or in your current budget. Ultimately, staff went out to bid on this project. Those numbers have come back in significantly higher than the amount of funds that we have on hand. And we're also dealing with an ancillary issue with regards to timing as it pertains to the American Rescue Plan Act funds that we received from the federal government. And so I'm going to turn it over here in a minute to Jody. She's going to kind of walk you through that, but I wanted to give you a preview of what we're bringing before you and why as we discuss this matter this evening. Jody?
Good evening, Council, Mayor.
Good evening.
So I'm excited to bring this infrastructure project forward. It will relieve a lot of the problems that we're having here in the city with regard to parking. It's been in the design for almost a year now, and so I'm going to start off by giving you a summary, if this will go to the next slide. I don't know. The pointer's working, but it's not. Okay, there we go. So Our priority tonight is to request an approval to enter into a contract with the low bid contractor APAC Atlantic. That would be a not to exceed total of 2.252895. Highlights of the project. Currently, in the fiscal year 25, our funds are insufficient to do everything that we would like to do. Bids are significantly higher than the 2023 estimates that were done a year ago. Inflation is part of it, but stormwater infrastructure costs are about 28% of what we're seeing in the project. And we're getting everything into compliance with our new MZDO. So this includes doing parking lots that have curb and gutter and stormwater inlets, proper drainage. So as our city manager mentioned, the ARPA funds must be contracted by December 31st of this year. It's a use it or lose it. And we propose to roll some of those funds into helping pay for these projects. We want to complete as much work as possible with the existing funds. And we will, of course, require coming back to ask for additional funds because we don't have enough to do everything that we want to do. So if we can either do that during fiscal year 26 budget, or we can do a budget amendment. That doesn't have to be decided tonight. Funding that was identified for our Boyd Street project and our Public Works lot, which is a parking lot, those were identified in our fiscal year 23 and 24 budgets. However, those did not get carried forward in the 25 budgets. They got moved into reserve funds because the design wasn't complete. So, next slide, please. I don't know why this isn't working, but I'm getting the pointer. I'm just not getting it to go to the next slide. Just wanted to reiterate that we have to use those ARPA funds by December 31st, 2024. And the summary page. So there's 4 different locations we need to talk about. The first one is our rec center phase 2. Of course, everyone knows that any given event or time during the day when you head down to the rec center, we are out of parking. The rear lot of that rec center was value engineered out of phase 1. And so this is bringing in phase 2, adding that parking back. The second location is the Boyd Street sidewalk, which you all are very familiar with. And then the third location is our Public Works building parking lot. It's currently a gravel lot. And then the fourth location is everything behind us in the rec center or recreation complex, the Richard Gray complex, which there's multiple different projects within that complex. And I'll break it down for you so you have a good understanding. So we are repaving some old parking lots, and then we are upgrading some existing broken sidewalks, but then we're installing some new parking lots and installing new sidewalks that don't exist. So location 1, if you see in the aerial highlighted in red, that's what's existing, and that was what was value engineered out of the project back when the rec center was built. So what our engineer has designed here will add 126 additional spaces, 5 ADA compliant spaces, and of course we're going to be in compliance with our new MZDO with the islands for landscaping, curb and gutter, and the infrastructure that I talked about earlier. Location number 2, everyone is familiar with our Boyd Street sidewalk. It's connected here at Martin, so across from where the sheriff sit, our police department sits here. The start of the sidewalk goes here and all the way down to where we need to connect it. I wanted to highlight that this also includes adding a 3-way stop sign at Almer Road to reduce the speed on that road. And then location number 3, it's thinking, it doesn't want to, okay. Our Public Works building. So currently you can see that we have a dirt or gravel area and everything highlighted in yellow will be paved. We're adding extra long spaces here for some of our Public Works folks who come in with a trailer that they're towing so that they can park there for lunch or meetings that they may need to attend. And then in the back, this is reinforced concrete for our roll-offs and heavy dumpsters. And then our CDL drivers that work with the TCL program park here. This is a much needed project that adds 28 parking stalls, 280 compliant spaces, and of course, We look like a used car lot down there with so many people working out of that building currently. So it's a much needed project. Next slide is location number 4. So the primary focus is next to our basketball court right here. This dirt or grass area that you'll see here, this parking finishes off what we're doing next to our Juju Hudson playground and incorporates some of that new sidewalk that would go in front that matches what we've placed in front of the dog park. You'll have a one-way in drive lane with some diagonal parking and then a one-way drive lane towards the back that brings the flow out to our roundabout, so it gives multiple exits, or they can go back into this parking lot for overflow. Originally, we had proposed that we would also do the Randall Street parking that is currently grass. The red indicates a bridge for pedestrians to walk across for connectivity so that they don't have to come out onto the road during those events when we have a lot of cars back there. Additionally, there is a sidewalk that's proposed that takes everyone to our new trail. So this is a very needed space. The next slide shows our existing parking lot behind our concession stands that is paved, but it's old, it's broken, and it needs redone. So in redoing that parking lot, we would add the MZDO compliance for the landscape islands, and of course curb and gutter and the drainage that's necessary. So this is 118 stalls for ADA compliant. The next location is getting our ADA compliance next to our football field. We do not have a sidewalk that takes us to the grandstands, and this lane right here is currently used for ambulance, but it's gravel, so it's proposed to pave that and of course extend that sidewalk. Also, I have it highlighted down here in the yellow. We have some concrete that's broken there that we were going to fix along with these two areas. Whoops, it's skipping because I pushed up too many. Okay, so our rec center complex location, we have a lot that we want to do back there, and we were trying to break that down in priorities because that's the bulk of what the bid consists of. It's $3.1 million to do everything that we're asking for. But if we were to ask to start what we can with the funding that's available, we believe our most important area is behind the Juju Hudson playground area next to the basketball court and the dog park. And then we prioritize repaving the existing lot as our number 2 location. And then, of course, the ADA compliant sidewalk to the football spectator stands and the ambulance driveway. And then last but not least, Randall Street, which is our grass lot, would be our 4th priority in that area. We received 2 bids. The first bidder is APAC Atlantic, and they are the low bid. And the second one is Polivka International. We have done work with both of these firms. Polivka performed the trail project for us behind the ball fields. And APAC has worked on Brooks Willis Drive and most recently on Argent at the New River intersection. So it's a drastic difference, as you can see, over $2.1 million difference. And the engineer and I, which I have him here tonight for any questions that you may have, we're still working through some of the negotiations on how these numbers are so far apart, but really not something that we wanted to discuss tonight, just letting you know that there is some potential negotiation there. The funding that we have today, what's highlighted in green is what we have available, the 2.252. And of course, the actual expenses being beyond what we have a deficit of $2.8 million. In order to do everything that we're asking to do, I was saying earlier that we would have to come back for additional funding. And then our timeline. If you were to approve this tonight, we could start construction on Boyd Street in January. February, we would start at the rec center. And then April, May, we would move down to the Public Works Department. And then in July, when we get closer to the next fiscal year budget and we receive a little additional funding, we could do more back here in the Richard Gray complex. So, whoops, I went past that. Okay, well, in closing, we were asking that you approve the $2.2 million that we're trying to contract with APAC Atlantic. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Okay, let's start with Mr. Mearsman.
Can you go back to the slide for the Richard Gray complex? My concern about that is how many additional ADA parking spaces are we adding through this project? Do all of it together? It's short down there now.
So I don't have that exact number, but if we have 4 in what's existing, and I know that we've added a few with the Juju Hudson Phase 2 project, which is not being shown here because that's a separate project from here. I want to say the 6 that we added along the side over here for the ADA compliance, that would be 10 right there at the entrance of the ball fields. And then on this side, let me go to the next slide. I think it's highlighted. Sorry, bear with me. No, I didn't do the official count on that, but I know a minimum 10, and then we would add at least 3 here, and possibly, I mean, this doesn't really get you ADA compliance back here, but minimum 13.
Jody, because we're not proposing to move forward or go under contract for all these,
Yeah.
we'll put an assessment together for what existing spaces are there and then what additional spaces would be added if this item is approved up to the amount that's been requested, and we'll send that to you following this meeting.
Okay, thank you. My other question is regarding if we approve and as we move ahead with the Richard Gray complex, the work that could be possibly scheduled there, and you have your timeline there. How does that work out with the existing festivals and things that are planned for Richard Gray?
Yes, the logistics of that would all be coordinated. 100% certain that's at the top of our list. Yeah.
Because that goes back to your priority. My personal feeling is that I feel these improvements at the Richard Gray complex should take priority over what we're doing at Public Works. That's just how my feeling is. I believe the rec center is a priority, and I believe Boyd Street, yes, but these are, the rec center and this is our showcase. This is what our public comes to see. This is what they view more often. And to me, they will see this and they think that they're getting a better bang for their buck with the tax money.
I understand. Yeah, our priorities can absolutely be adjusted.
Thank you.
That's a discussion for later.
That's all.
Mrs. Guzman.
I just have one simple question.
Sure.
He's bad.
None of this is simple, I know.
Weather events like we've experienced some really bad cold nights and days, will that affect the project? You know, because I know it has to be a certain temperature before you can pour the asphalt and do road work and stuff like that. If it were to get delayed, are we on the hook?
So you're absolutely correct. All weather events will delay asphalt or compaction, or we have to have the asphalt a certain temperature to pour. Fortunately, here in the Low Country, we don't get a ton of freezing days, and a lot of the paving work does happen in the cooler months, so they have ways to heat the truck. But water is something that's a little bit trickier. So yes, we would build contingency timeframes into our timeline, and that would be floated out.
So, Jody, if I understand the process correctly, we will issue a notice to proceed to the contractor. That notice to proceed will typically have a timeline associated with it that says you'll start here, you'll end here. But they have protections built in that if certain things such as weather events are triggered, it can extend that end date as far as the timeline goes. Otherwise, we just want to impress upon them that they have to have the work completed along with that scheduled timeline.
And that extension does not mean that the price is going to go
No,
up?
it's automatically built into their
Okay,
contract.
all right.
Right, weather's out of our control, so they
Right.
can't hit us for delay time on that, right?
That's the only question. I have.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sure.
Your presentation made it clear that you can pay me now or you can pay me later.
Sadly,
Later
sorry.
becomes a lot more expensive. And second, if we do some of these growth and compliance issues that you've outlined, will that give us some elbow room and some, some good parking situations for a period of time? In other words, looking out, is this a year solution, a year and a half? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you add the total number of stalls that we're adding to just the Richard Gray complex, we're absolutely doing what we can for that growth. Does that mean that it's going to be enough? I don't know. Our events are wildly popular, and it seems that we're getting more and more people by the year. So
It's going to help. It's not going to solve the problem.
it's right. Yeah. We're going to be creative. We're going to have to continue on with finding other property or other solutions. Yeah. Well, some people say parking is a good problem to have, but then, it's also a dangerous problem. So
It's not an exciting problem, but it's
it's
a
not
problem
an
that you
exciting
think-
project, yes.
Well, thank you very much.
Mr. Carroll?
This Jen's problem, she's causing us all these, for these.
All
projects.
Jen's fault.
But, and I agree with, what Steve said with a little bit of caveat. I think we also need to worry about the Boyd Street, because that has been, as the mayor can vouch for many years, and a lot of people have been concerned about it, so that should be somewhere after, Richard Gray and, Rec Center.
I understand. And one of the things I want to highlight about how we prioritize that is if I go to the page that shows you the expenses, the low-lying fruit like Boyd Street, which is $160,000, it's very difficult to get a paving contractor to come in here and bid on just that
That's
job.
just that.
And so we've had time and time again where that's been delayed because nobody wants that job. So we coupled it with these larger projects to get them interested. And so that's why we place that at the top of the list to get them started. It's fully permitted. It's kind of the easiest part of this project. And then the parking lot down at Public Works, given that it's a $490,000 project, and that relieves a lot of the staff problems that are parking right now. They're getting stuck in the mud, and it's a lot of overflow. But we were going somewhat top down from price perspective.
Well, and Jody, let me speak to, we've presented what we would propose as a prioritization list. And really, that prioritization list is based off of what we can afford to pay for with the existing budgeted funds that are on hand. So we've got $2.2 million between ARPA and existing budgeted funds that we can move forward with. The rec center complex with all of its component pieces, that alone would be more than what we would have funding on hand for. And so what that would require then is either a budget amendment to
Reserve funds.
to transfer funds either from other projects or from the reserve to make up that difference. Part of the issue that we're going to run into with that is that it's going to take council 2 readings and pass an ordinance to amend its budget. And if we're not under contract
Right.
by the end of this calendar month, the ARPA funds that we have, and I'm going to apologize that we're bringing something to you at the 11th hour rather than giving you a lot more buffer period so that we can have these conversations. But we are where we are in terms of if we're not under contract and have obligated those funds, we do risk losing them. So that's why we've proposed to do projects 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
Not because we think they're necessarily any more or less important than the other ones.
Into the budget.
It's just what we can afford to pay for now without any changes.
It's an easier way to scope the project with the negotiations with the
Right.
contractor. Yeah.
John, any more?
No, sir, that,
So, based on what I've just heard, there, 1, 2, and 3 are almost $1.9 million, leaving us with an additional $300,000. Can we, or is there a piece of Richard Gray that's $300,000 that we can lump in with 1, 2, and 3?
That is the plan, and we're meeting with APAC Atlantic to break down those locations within Richard Gray to give us price points that we can afford with what we have for fiscal year '25.
And here's how we would propose to do it. If you could go back to the slide that breaks out all four components. Yeah. So we would start, as Jody indicated, with a schedule of getting the Boyd Street, the rec center, and then Public Works all going. Once we know that none of those projects are going to require any additional funding, because again, until you start getting the work done, you never know what might come up in terms of change orders. But assuming we get all three of those to the point where we feel comfortable that they're not going to require any additional funding, the remaining balance that we would have, we would look to put in place the projects that are listed here in that order, unless you tell us that, say, number 3 is more important than number 1. Otherwise, we'll start at the top of the list and we'll start trying to accomplish as much as we can with the remaining funds that we have up to that not to exceed value of $2.2 million.
Right,
So
right.
can we go back to the breakout of by project?
That's this way. There you go.
So here's a second question I could give you, because I agree with John and Steve that of the 4 priorities, Public Works is the least priority. It's gravel, but there's pickup trucks going in there. It's not like sedans mostly. So can we take the $1.4 million, which is number 1 and 3, and instead of only devoting $300,000 to 4, take $800,000 to 4 and put off Public Works. Put that extra $500,000, because that's what John and Steve said, that they want 3 and 4 as the top 2. So that way, Public Works can wait and put that $500,000 towards, and then $800,000 approximately would go to Richard Gray.
Yes, and of course, whatever priority list that you give us or directive you give us, I would break that out with APAC Atlantic, and they'll come back at, yes, maybe for $800,000, I can get the parking lot next to Juju Hudson Park, next to the basketball courts. Maybe that's what I can accomplish with that. So until I get that breakdown on, and unfortunately, these bids just came in over the holiday, and it's been a tough time to get the cooperation for these breakdowns. So I had hoped to get that before tonight, but I didn't. Yeah.
So in this approval, in our motion, do we approve the expenditure of 2.2 and the priority list, or just, are we just approving 2.2?
I think that the priority list can wait if you want it to wait, or I would need your, yeah.
It really is what you feel comfortable. If you want to explicitly state what the priority list is and make it part of your motion, you can certainly do that.
Let's do that.
Otherwise, I can tell you, we're listening to what you're saying tonight. We will
that.
make sure to make that happen, but there's no issues with including that as part of your motion.
Okay.
Okay.
You okay?
Oh, boy. Your chair.
Somebody's initiating our city manager.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, if I may ask a question, though.
Yes.
Can we, as we talk about that extra, not extra, but the unallocated funds in there, the Public Works parking lot, is there a temporary measure, even re-graveling? I understand we need a lot of work in there, but even gravel or something to make it last until we can find the funds.
I have our engineer of record here. I could ask him to come to the podium and give us an idea on what he would do creatively, but we can also give that a couple of days and submit something to you on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think what we can do is we can say, look, if you want to tell us that your priority list is number 3 first, number 1 second, number 4 third, and number 2 fourth, we're going to try to accomplish as much work as we can up to the dollar amount that you authorize in that order. And so if there's not more that we can do with these large projects here at the Richard Gray Complex, and we can take some of that money to do some of the improvements in Public Works, that's what we'll look to do.
That's what I was asking.
And at the time of notice to proceed, I would have that clearly identified with our contractor. So you'll have that breakdown.
So I would ask council to please put that, that priority list we discussed, which is 3142, and into the motion. But before we do that, I'd like to offer the public a chance to give their opinion as well. Would anybody like to come forward and?
I have a question. I may have misunderstood what Jody said, but there was some money that was put in, taken out of the budget and put into a reserve account because the engineering wasn't there for those projects. Has that been included in this, or is that money that could be added to this project?
That's it. So from a budgeting standpoint, at the end of a fiscal year, if you have unspent funds, you can do one of two things. One is you carry those funds over into a subsequent budget year, or if you don't carry them forward, they automatically roll into your reserve fund.
That's right.
In this instance, with those two projects, they rolled into the reserve fund. So we could tap into those funds, but in order to do that, we would have to adopt a budget amendment
Okay.
to then transfer them back out.
But the bottom line was that the money is there.
So
The actual money is
the money is there. So what we're going to probably look at doing, so we're proposing to move some ARPA funds over to cover that money now so that we can be under contract. When we go to build next year's budget, we may propose to roll those funds out of the reserve back into the projects.
Got it. Okay, that was my only question.
Thank you.
Just for my own clarification, what we are approving now is
I'm fine with that.
all of that, or I don't feel comfortable approving $4,998,000.
You're approving the 2.252895 that we have available in the
Yes.
fiscal
Okay, and
year.
then we're asking you to go back to the drawing board to figure out
That's
best
correct.
using of that money.
Right, and not only will I go back to the drawing board for additional funds, but I'll be asking the contractors for some negotiations and potential creativity on those.
And we'll use your prioritization list as the guideline about how we
Yes.
utilize those funds.
Thank you.
So let's put that in the motion, so we're all clear that we're authorizing an expenditure of 2.252, and the priority list is, what did we say?
3142.
3142.
So 3 being the Hardyville Recreation Center parking lot, Phase 2.
Yes.
Boyd Street would be second, and then you start on the recreation complex as
Let's put
your
that,
third.
whoever makes the motion, let's put that all in the motion, okay? Anyone else from the public? Okay. I'd like now a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes. This is Resolution 2024-12-12A.
Go ahead, Steve. You want to try it?
Yeah, I'll try. Okay, I make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-12-12A with the prioritization of the projects being number 3, number 1, number 4, number 2, with the initial expense to be the not to exceed $2,252,895.
Right.
Very good, yes.
Wow.
It's a
I
mouthful.
second that motion. That's why I seconded it quick.
We have a motion, we have a second. Are there any further comments or questions by council or the public?
I actually have a question, sir.
That's really.
Is it a simple one?
Simple one.
Okay.
With the priority going to 1, so forth and so forth, what bothers me a little bit about that is the Boyd Street sidewalk, you have people, you have the safety of people to take into consideration, because right now they don't have a sidewalk, correct?
That is correct.
They're
So
walking on a street and with traffic flowing and all that.
one
fun
of the things I'd like to also mention is that APAC Atlantic has a large enough crew that some of this work can be done concurrently.
Simultaneously.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
So,
Can you also
Then
go
I'm
to
good
your
with that.
timeline?
yes.
Because I think it's important to note, If you look at the proposed timeline, the very first project that
It doesn't want to go to the timeline. It just keeps jumping from 13 to there.
There we go.
Thank you.
the very first project that we get out the gate is the Boyd Street project because of the safety concerns there.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to adjust that a little bit based upon your prioritization tonight, but I just wanted to highlight the first thing that we're going to get going will be the Boyd Street project.
That's been on the board a
Yeah.
long
That's
time.
been on, yeah, and that's,
And it is the fastest, easiest,
yeah,
shortest time frame. Yeah.
okay,
Staff
All right.
understands our,
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
okay, I'm good. Thank you, sir.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Any further comments or questions by council or the public? Seeing none, I'll call for a voice vote on this. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
when's it going to be finished?
They are proposing 30 total weeks, so it's not a short project. Yeah. How many weeks? 30. Yeah.
Okay, next, we have the consideration of date for first regular council meeting for 2025 is January 2nd, 2025. Mr. Gruber, please.
Yes, sir. So in recognition of the fact that every 2 years there may be new members of council that need to be sworn in and appointed, what we're proposing is to have this council go ahead and set the first meeting date of your next calendar year tonight, with the understanding that at that first meeting then, after all members of council have been sworn into their new terms, you would take up an item to approve your meeting agenda for the remainder of that calendar year.
Okay, that seems pretty straightforward. Mr. Carroll, do you have any questions?
No, sir, I had talked with Josh about this the other day at our, on a little meeting, so I understand, no questions.
Mr. White?
No questions.
Mrs. Guzman?
No questions, sir.
Mr. Mearsman?
No questions.
I have no questions either. Does the public have any questions? Okay, seeing none, I'd like a motion to approve, disapprove, or make any changes to having the first council meeting on Thursday, January 2nd, 2025.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next, we have the manager's report. Mr. Gruber.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I've got two items this evening. First, Mr. Kyle Blackman, he's a staff member in our building inspection department, has successfully completed all 4 residential code certifications and has therefore earned the title of Combination Residential Inspector. It's a great opportunity for us to continue to develop our cadre of professionals within that team. The more certifications they get, the more projects they can take on in terms of being out in the field and helping us inspect all the development that's occurring. And so very proud that he was able to accomplish that, and he will soon begin his commercial inspection certifications in the coming year. And so again, we want to support that both internally within that department because of how it helps us ultimately be able to provide better services to the public. And then the second thing I wanted to talk about, over the last couple of weeks, there's been a number of public events that have been going on, be it the tree lighting, be it the parade, the Mary on Main, and want to take an opportunity to really call attention to all the great work that Jen and her team has done, all the great work in Public Works, and really to all of our staff, because there was a lot of volunteer hours that went into this from across a number of organizations, but really want to say thank you for an excellent job well done. You represent this city very well, and you really allow us to have some great community engagement sessions.
And Jen.
Okay, we'll go to council and we'll end the year with reverse alphabetical order and start with Mr. White.
I really don't have any concerns or anything to mention. So I'm going to just say it was a good year. We appreciate all the help, the staff, the public, and thank you. And we have a lot to do next year, it sounds like, and so take a little break and then get busy. And Jana, particularly congratulations on some nice events that all of us really enjoyed, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Mearsman.
Josh covered pretty much everything I was going to say for staff, but no, the staff all across the city participated in all the events, and it was just quite an amazing thing. The parade was fantastic. The tree was fantastic. That was amazing. Chief, your officers at bringing up the rear of the parade with the cars, with the lights, it was just an amazing thing. The organization that you had at Richard Gray Complex with the petting zoo, and that little pony was sure cute. I did like that. But it was amazing. But to see the amount of our city staff that has participated in every one of these events is amazing. And I'm very honored and proud to be part of this city. Our council tonight had some serious deliberations, but we at times will disagree on things, but every one of us in our own mind and our own heart have the citizens of Hardeeville at best interest. We're not all up here to agree all the time. We are here to do what we think is best for the representatives, as representatives of our city. I wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a great New Year. Thank you.
Okay, we have Mrs. Guzman.
Jen, again, fantastic evening. Got to thank you. You surprise us every time you hold an event. You just up the ante, and I don't know how you beat it. But you did. I had a fantastic time along with Councilman Carroll and Mr. Mearsman here to walk along the parade route and hand out candy, and it was fantastic to hear littles and littles at heart say and see how happy they were with the parade. So, and then, Chief, those police cars at the end of the parade, I tell you what, I mean, I had a lump in my throat to see our folks out there in full force. And you know, I'm not counting the firefighters out too, but everyone in City Hall got together and pulled this off. And for a city this size, it was amazing of what you guys did. So I'm very proud to call myself a resident of this city. So thank you to all of you for what you guys did. Amazing. Thank you. That was short.
Very nice.
Well, it was simple, too.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Carroll.
I had more time on my hands since she was so short and simple with her. No, Josh pretty well covered the tree lighting and the parade. I will say, Jen, I think I told you today, but it brought back some old memories of how it used to be, to see that many people out. I mean, we've had good parades, but to get the participation, it was, and I can't tell you how many compliments and people's comments. So, and it was very, very enjoyable. A little bit cold, but it was very, very enjoyable. And I guess the mayor's fixing the, I'll take a little bit of his thunder from him. The senior citizens dinner yesterday was really nice and very well attended. Also, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if we were mentioned before about the food pantry. You know, we had that.
Nobody's mentioned it yet. I have it on my list, but go ahead.
Okay, but we'd had it, what, about, how many
It
days?
was on the 25th.
All right, 25th of last month, we gave, I don't know how many turkeys, 100 and, I don't know, we did.
I
don't
think
know how many.
I think it was about 150 people.
About 150 turkeys we passed out, and it was a lot of fun, seeing the people come through and the faces light up when we did the turkey. And the mayor has arranged again on the 16th, which would be Monday,
This coming Monday.
coming Monday, for some hams. So it's a lot of fun, the people, because this time of year, even if you are a little bit struggling, this time of year you struggle a lot more. So a ham or a turkey, a lot of times, and the trimmings make a big difference. So that's going to be on the 16th. I did want to add that, and then Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. It's been an honor, like I say, to serve the city, and we're so glad that Josh is aboard.
Are you want to say anything?
You've already had your turn.
Yeah, my list is almost over.
When you last were in the parade, were the roads paved?
No.
Or was it gravel?
No, they were dirt, actually,
Dirt roads?
dirt roads.
Okay.
I knew she'd get me somehow.
And the floats were horse-drawn.
That's all, sir.
Okay,
I just had to get it.
thank
Oh,
you.
yeah, she gonna get me.
In spite of Thanksgiving being in the middle, it's been a pretty busy here. And on the 22nd, we met with the Community Foundation of Low Country, and they're a huge grant-giving organization, and they want to get back. They want to do more in Hardyville and Jasper County. So we met with them. Neil is getting them a list of organizations that perhaps could benefit from grants from this organization. John mentioned the turkeys, and on Monday, just to add to that, first of all, it not only was this big hunk of meat given, there's this very hot, heavy, big box of fixings.
Oh, my gosh.
Canned foods, box of mashed potatoes, a lot of stuff. And the thanks goes to the Community Church of the Low Country, and they call this the Community Food Bank, Food Pantry. And all this stuff is donated by their parishioners. So I really have to thank them for doing this. And on the 16th, and the Youth Council decided that they want to be a part of this. And so they were there helping with the event. And they added and asked the police department if they would add a soup and sandwich giveaway after they picked up their food. So we had a lot of volunteers, thanks to all of them. So not only did they get their turkeys, they got a ham and cheese sandwich, a soup made by Officer Ginn that looked like you could walk on it. It was so thick, and it was wonderful event. On Monday, not only were we going to give out hams, but then the police department and the youth council have joined again, and with Mr. Rick Patel, the foot in the bill. We're going to grill hot dogs and give hot dogs and water away. And we also have kept about 200 or so little toys to give to the kids as well. So there's going to be, same time, 5:30 on Monday night, from 5:30 to 6:30. So those who are particularly in need, please let them know what's happening. So LOCO's last meeting of the year was one where I've asked all the board members to come up with agenda items for 2025. I offer that to anybody who feels that, any agenda item that can benefit from a regional conversation, to please forward that to me. The media department came through once again, and there are new owners at the Quality Inn. And we went over there for a Shop Local video. They were unbelievable the way they set it up, and they were really nice people. And there's going to be a new restaurant in town. And one of the co-owners is one of Hardyville's finest, Mr. Charles Mitchell. And so they're waiting for DHEC approvals. So we're going to have a new restaurant, a whole new remodeled Quality Inn, wonderful people. So, and look forward to the Shop Local video, which will be coming soon. We also met this past week with Beaufort County to talk about solutions to the Margaritaville Light. As we all know, the backup in the morning is horrible. So we have to get some numbers, take it to DOT. So we have a plan of action to deal with that. Everybody congratulated Jen and her team, and rightfully so. But there was more than just a parade. The first day back from Thanksgiving, we collected literally thousands of toys from Sun City and Margaritaville. Volunteers came back and they sorted. And after the volunteers left, the rec department sorted some more. The next day, we had great volunteers, and Mrs. Castle and her team, and Mrs. Talbot and her team came, and we wrapped over 1,000 toys in what, an hour and a half or less? They were machines.
We couldn't trust him with wrapping presents. We had to boot him out of there.
Yeah, I kept stealing your
Kept mess-
scissors.
Yes, and my tape too.
And the next day, we delivered to Royal Live Oaks Academy and also to Hardyville Elementary. Santa made his appearance at those as well. And I must say that in spite of Santa's rather fragile back, he got on one knee, and I was bowled over and literally by a group of kindergarten kids and ended up on my back. Santa ended up on his back, excuse me. And that was a wonderful thing. So then the parade, the mayor's lunch, the senior lunch yesterday, all these things happened in the first 11 days of December, all by our Parks and Rec team. It was an amazing, amazing effort. So congratulations for everything that you did in the past 11 days. Today, I went to the Hilton Head Bluffton Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors lunch. And I only bring that up because one of the things I'm most proud of the city of Hardyville coming in my 8 years as mayor is that now Hardyville is part of the regional conversation. These kind of events that I get invited to gives the opportunity to network, meet new people, and do a little bragging on the city of Hardyville. And so I think they're very important, and it's something we all should be proud of, that people now want to have the representation from Hardyville at these events. On January 2nd, I'll remind the council that at that time, not only will 3 people be sworn in, we need to vote on and swear in Mayor Pro Tem, because that Mr. White's term ends at the end of the year also. So I'm relying on the committee chair, Mr. White. Okay. And lastly, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and Happy New Year. Have a great holiday, everyone. We will now have a motion to adjourn, please.
Motion that we adjourn the last meeting of 2024.
Going out with a bang.
We have a motion. We have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye.